Welcome back, everybody. And as promised, I'm going to do my Michigan at Ohio State preview right now because I'm going to be leaving for Hesperia, Michigan on Wednesday next week. And I just won't be able to have time to do the preview during that week. Um, I will be back on the um, on the weekends, so I'll be able to recap them and do the resume rankings and power rankings, etc. Without any further ado, the weather is still beautiful here in Michigan. I don't know if it's the same in Columbus, Ohio, or not. It's probably a little bit better. It seems how they're a little bit south of here. So Ohio State might luck out weather-wise. um, they have C.J. Stroud, and he is amazing. 68%, 2,453 yards, which is good for 9.9 yards per attempt. He's got 29 passing touchdowns and 4 interceptions, and he's only been sacked 7 times this season. At running back, you have Mayan Williams with 102 carries, 636 yards, 6.2 yards per carry, and 12 touchdowns. Travion Henderson has 96 carries for 552 yards, 5.8 yards per carry, and 6 touchdowns. Receiving the ball, you have Marvin Harrison Jr., who is electric. All these receivers, probably the best core in the nation. 53 receptions, 834 yards, 15.7 yards per reception, and 10 touchdowns. Emeka Egbuka has 49 receptions, 794 yards, 16.2 yards per reception, 7 touchdowns. Julian Fleming has 20 receptions for 361 yards, 18 yards per reception, and 6 touchdowns. And Cade Stover, the tight end, has 26 receptions for 321 yards, 12.3 yards per reception, and 3 touchdowns. And this is all without Jackson Smith and Jigba, who has been out since the Notre Dame game. So, they're just rolling along offensively. On defense, Tommy Eichenberg leads the team in tackles, 85, and he has 2.5 sacks, along with 1 interception. Linebacker Steele Chambers has 52 tackles, 1 sack, and 1 interception. And your sack leader on the team is D tackle Michael Hall Jr. with 4.5 sacks. Devontae John Baptiste, the D end, has 3.5 sacks. And Jack Sawyer, another D end, has 2 sacks. The interception leader for Ohio State's defense is Tanner McAllister, the safety, with 3 interceptions. Now let's talk about Michigan side of the ball. McCarthy is 71% for 1,615 yards and 8.2 yards per attempt, 12 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and he's only been sacked 6 times. Blake Corum has 199 carries for 1,187 yards, 6 yards per carry, and 16 touchdowns. That right there should show you that the styles of these offenses are polar opposites. One likes to sling the ball all over the place, one likes to ground and pound. Edwards backs up Corum, 68 rushes for 458 yards and 6.7 yards per carry, 4 touchdowns. Ronnie Bell leads the team in receptions and yards with 41 receptions, 525 yards, 12.8 yards per reception, and only 1 touchdown. Schoonmaker, the tight end, has 30 receptions for 315 yards, 10.5 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. And Cornelius Johnson has 19 receptions for 250 yards, 13.2 yards per reception, and 4 touchdowns. Roman Wilson, who's been banged up last week, he was out. I don't know if he'll be returning for Nebraska or not, or if he'll be back by the time this Ohio State game is played. But he has 17 receptions, 250 yards, 14.7 yards per reception, and 3 touchdowns. Defensively, just like weeks prior, there's not a whole lot of stats for this defense because they just kind of swarm to the ball. first man there. No one really gets picked on by opposing offenses. And they only really there's a lot of 3-and-outs lately, so they only really get 3 tries per drive to record some stats. But Junior Colson has 61 tackles and 1 sack. Mike Morris has 7 sacks, the D end, and 8 others have at least 1.5 sacks. And that includes Michael Barrett, the linebacker, has 2.5 sacks, and he also has 2 interceptions that came in the game versus Rutgers. One of them went back for a touchdown. The interception leader for Michigan on defense is Rod Moore. He has 3. Now, points per team stats are very similar for these two programs. Ohio State is first in the nation in points per game, 46. Michigan is 5th at 42. Yards per game, Ohio State is 14th in the nation, 484. And Michigan is 22nd with 466. Defensive points per game, Ohio State gives up 16, that's 8th in the nation. And Michigan gives up 12, that's 3rd in the nation. Defensive yards per game, Ohio State is 6th with 272 per game. And Michigan is 2nd with 242 per game. So pretty similar. It's just the offensive philosophy that is different between these two teams. And maybe Ohio State, I don't know, strength of schedule is pretty even as of right now. Ohio State still has to play Maryland, but it's similar. I think this game comes down to Michigan playing keep away from Ohio State's offense. And if Ohio State can't score them big, electric, long receiving touchdowns, it might be a long day for them, but I think it's going to be close. It's going to be very similar to last year, I think. Ohio State will be able to pass the ball, but they'll struggle with controlling the ball, the time of possession, and keeping their defense off of the field. And that's going to be a big key because I think their defense is better than last year, but so is Michigan's offensive line. That in turn will play right into Michigan's favor on defense. Michigan will be able to control the ball, eat the clock, and maybe get a lead and force Ohio State to be one-dimensional. I think it's a close game still. All off seasons since basically the draft, when Michigan lost all those players on defense and Ohio State lost some players on offense, I was struggling to pick who was going to win this game, who's the better team, and since then I've been back and forth in my rankings. Michigan 2, Ohio State 2, flip them every week. I'm sticking with Michigan now from here on out. I think Michigan style of play, especially in weather, if that happens, is more likely to succeed in this game. Now, it'll be Michigan's first win in Ohio State Stadium in the Horseshoe for the first time since the year 2000, so 22 years ago. But this is Michigan's best team since then as well, I would say, since before that even. I'm going to say Michigan gets into the end zone as well. I think they've been saving some of these red zone tries, and they've been settling for field goals. They know they're not going to be able to do that versus Ohio State. I see some ingenuity coming out of the red zone for Michigan. I like them scoring 7 touchdowns. 35 Michigan, and Ohio State 31. So a 4-point victory for Michigan in the Horseshoe, and they will be on to the Big Ten championship game versus probably Illinois, who Michigan plays next week. So they might play them twice leading up to the playoff. There you have it. My Michigan at Ohio State preview. a couple of weeks early because I have to go to work. But I will be recapping that game, win or lose, for sure. Thank you, everybody. Remember to like the video, share with other people on social media, and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you if you have. And remember to have a great day. Go Blue.